For tuning into another segment of the Sit Down with Malik Wright presented by First Star Logistics. On this segment, I'll be discussing my thoughts on the New England Patriots for this upcoming football season. I've got a little bit of a hot take, Daniel, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder here,
Go
but
for it.
I think Bill Belichick is severely overrated. I think Bill Belichick is severely overrated, and I think it's time to have a discussion. Matter of fact, I think the time to have the discussion was last year. I think this is a guy that gets a lot of passes because of who his quarterback was previously and what those two accomplished together. But it's very clear, right, that Bill Belichick needed Tom Brady probably more than Tom Brady needed Bill Belichick. Now, I know hindsight is always 2020, and it's probably an easy thing to say now because Bill Belichick was able to, I mean, Tom Brady was able to go on and win a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it's not even just that, man. I mean, the Patriots have just struggled under his guidance, with no Tom Brady. And I don't see any progression from a quarterback like Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi looks like trash.
Yep.
To be quite honest with you, the most electric player from the quarterback position that I've seen is the guy, Malik Cunningham. Bailey Zappi looks horrible, who everybody thought, okay, Bailey Zappi could be the guy because his Mac Jones isn't making those strides. But Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi both look horrible. So for me, if I'm a Patriots fan, I'm seriously pressing the panic button at this point. It seems like Bill Belichick's coordinators don't do well outside, of the Patriot way system. And even then, bringing back guys like Joe Judge, this is very reminiscent. And I hate to be that guy, and I hate to compare the quote unquote greatest coach of the modern day era to Marvin Lewis, but it reminds me of that. I remember towards the end of Marvin Lewis's era in Cincinnati, he started bringing back a lot of his assistants and stuff like that. Now, obviously, but Belichick had a lot more success than Marvin Lewis has had as a professional football coach in the National Football League. But I think the thing for me is when you don't know any other way, you keep going back to the well that sort of worked for you. But the issue with that well that you keep going back to is it's not working now.
Yeah.
It's not working now. I don't care who you bring back as an assistant. I'm not seeing the New England Patriots take the strides, take the steps. At first, we gave him a pass. We said, hey, you know what? Mac Jones is just not ready. It's his rookie year. Well, fast forward, he still doesn't look like the guy. He still doesn't look like a guy. And the Patriot system, the Patriot way seems to be a little bit outdated. And, the Patriot way might be on his way out. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
So I've got a lot of thoughts. The first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to point to Bill Belichick as a GM right now. As a GM, I think that's where he struggles the most. And the reason why I can point to that is because, as you said, you talked about him bringing the different coordinators on, and he's going back to his old guys, which shows right now, he needs a level of comfortability as a GM. He said, hey, right now, he's bringing back guys like Bill O'Brien he's comfortable with. He's bringing, guys back, blanking on the name, Matt Patricia he brought back.
Joe Judge
he also brought back. He brings all these guys back.
Don't worry, Josh McDaniels is next, right?
Josh McDaniels is definitely next. And also, to a greater degree, how he builds his team in free agency, too. A lot to be questioned, right? You bring in guys like Nelson Aguilar, you pay him a lot of money. Guys like Juju Smith-Schuster. You can look at the roster right now and say there's a lot of holes that need to be filled, and there's a lot of money allocated to places that shouldn't be allocated. My next point is I'm going to look at how they're going to perform this year. I think they are going to be an absolute dumpster fire this year. I think Mac Jones isn't going to finish off the year. And this points to another thing that Bill Belichick doesn't know what he wants. He's got quarterbacks like a Bailey Zappi, like a Malik Cunningham, that I think are going to get run this year because I look at their schedule. Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, Cowboys, Saints. Then you got the Raiders, former Bill Belichick head coach. Then you got the Bills, the Dolphins, Chargers, Chiefs. This is a brutal schedule.
Ooh.
So if you really think that Bill Belichick is a great head coach, is a great GM, okay, that's fine. They're not going to be able to get through that schedule and be a playoff team this year. So Bill Belichick needs to change his ways. I still think he's a fine head coach. I think he's overrated. But my bold prediction this year is Mac Jones won't finish off the year as their starter, and the Patriots are going to have a lot of questions to answer next offseason that they already should have answered this offseason.
Let's talk more about Bill, though, for a second.
Yeah.
Because you said you think he's still a fine head coach. I'm sorry. I don't know if I believe that, Daniel.
Yeah.
I think he has his system, right, in place. And if you adhere to the system, great. If you don't, it doesn't work out. But even more so to that, I think that we're praising Bill, and I'm not saying you're not, but I think we're praising Bill on his past achievements. I'm talking about the here and now. I think that there is such a thing as messages growing stale and principles being outdated. I think that happened with Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati. I think it happened with Andy Reid in Philadelphia. It's okay for things to run its course. Bill Belichick has been on the job since when? 2002? It's okay. 2001, 2002. It's okay for these things to run its course. I just think that the Patriots need a breath of fresh air. And I feel like that's something that nobody is willing to say because I think people are worried about, I don't know, I guess offending or being or the backlash that could come with it. But I'll be the one to say it. I get backlash all the time. I think Bill Belichick, I think it's time for him to step aside. Now, obviously, not going to do it this year because you have we're already like the season's about to start in a few weeks. But I'm saying afterwards, there's nothing more to accomplish. And I understand he might want to break Vince Lombardi's record for most all-time wins as a coach. I get that. But at some point, if Bill Belichick truly cares about the legacy he leaves behind, if Bill Belichick truly cares about the New England Patriots' future, at what point do you step aside? At what point do you say, I'm doing more harm than I'm helping? And I think that's a real conversation that needs to be had. And I know it's like, whoa, like, how can we talk about those things when this guy won multiple Super Bowls? But I think it's time to talk about those things, Daniel.
Yeah, it's definitely time to talk about it. And him as a coach, for what I will say is he went 10-7, won the playoffs without Brady. Last year, we saw him obviously not have a good year, 8-9. I think and this is where it kind of gets misconstrued. Like last year, they were top 10 defense, passing yards, rushing yards, and points per game. Offense is a different question. Bottom 5 in rushing offense, bottom 10 in passing offense. I think Bill Belichick has his hands in too many things, and I don't think he knows what he's building right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the question lies because he was so reliant on being able to have a dominant defense and a good offense. I don't think he knows what to do with an offense. And I think that he's trying to, it's almost like we talked about in leadership. I don't think, and I'm not going to call him a terrible leader, I just think he doesn't know what he's doing as far as...
I don't think he can relate to this young crop of players.
Yes.
I think it's outdated. I think it's very similar to what to what we've seen happen time and time again. It's funny to me that we consider Greg Popovich and Bill Belichick some of the best at their respective positions, and they both seem to have outdated leadership, outdated styles of coaching that just does not resonate with this young new crop of players. So you know how I feel about Greg Popovich. I think the world of him, but I think that I wouldn't have, I personally would. I mean, I personally wouldn't have signed him to a contract extension, although I know he probably won't see the life of that as the coach. Probably move on up to the front office. I think Bill Belichick should actually look into doing that too, because I think at some point you're stymieing the growth of this team, and I think it's time for someone new to step into that role and be the head coach of the New England Patriots that's not named Bill Belichick. If you guys like more content like this, do us a huge favor. Make sure you press the subscribe button, give this video a like, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live from the First Star Logistics studio.